keynote speaker today. Will Robbins from the Northern California PGA section. He speaks all over the country about his programs, his junior program especially, where he will be able to show us, you can take away how you can make a lot more money with a lot less work. I think we're all looking at something like that. But I know there's going to be a lot of great information here on how he sets up his programs, so I want to welcome Will Rogers.
Rob? Okay.
Robbins.
So it's Will Robbins, but Will Rogers is Lost in Space.
This is the second time that I did this.
No, everyone says it to me. They're like, "What is it? What was it? The Lost in Space thing? What was the saying? Lost in Space? What did they say?"
Will Robbins.
I've never seen it. I've been here 22 years, and I really do need to actually watch that show.
My apologies
sometime.
again.
No, don't
so
worry.
funny.
Next thing is he'll say that I'm from Australia, which is also close, but my great-grandfather didn't steal anything, so I didn't get sent to Australia. So I'm English, but you might not get that joke. That was our like Alcatraz, Australia was. So I was from a good family. So hence the accent, yeah, close to Alabama. So anyway, looking forward to talking to you all today about coaching and about how to grow your business. And a lot of this is going to be about juniors, but talking to Tom, we also wanted to talk about adults and put some interjection in there of how you might start up some adult coaching programs as we go. So throughout this, go ahead, raise your hand, shout out questions, shout at me. So let's go ahead and get underway. So let me ask you this. We know who's teachers in the room. How many people are here GMs or head professionals? Raise your hand. Okay. So on the table, there's a little sheet for us to start filling out. It's like a worksheet. So if you're a head pro or a GM, you can fill this out for your assistant and give it to him tomorrow and say, this is your new role, because hopefully you take 20% of his income that comes in. If you're a teacher, then you can fill it out for yourself as you go through. So let me ask you, who would define themselves as a teacher, raise your hand, compared to a coach? Raise your hand if you'd say you're a teacher. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you think you're a coach, or say that you're a coach. Okay, what are the differences? What's the difference between a teacher and a coach? Let me ask you that. I just like to know. Yeah, what do you think? I have no idea. I'm making this up as I go.
As a coach, you're responsible for more than just the information that's passed along. So how I look at it is because I do mental side and I also do physical fitness besides the biomechanics. And then there's also a teaching side for the game as well.
Okay, so bringing the whole picture together, like a holistic way of looking at it. Okay, what else? Difference between a coach and an instructor, coach and a...
Directing versus informing.
So directing, who would do what?
Coaching, direct.
Okay.
Coaching, inform.
All right, what else? Do we hear that one, directing rather than just informing? What else? What would make a coach? Time involved. Okay.
It's more than just the technical aspect of teaching the game. So you want to have strategy and technique. I also find that a lot of the Euros, Aussies, Palmies all go coach, and all the Americans call their teacher.
Okay.
So there is some sort of difference.
So, all right. So if you're a limey, like me, coach, yank, you're a teacher. Okay? So here's one thing that I would suggest maybe you look at. And we're going to talk about football today, American football. I've been here 22 years. Still don't understand the game, but I'm trying to figure it out. So a coach, in my opinion, holds you accountable. Okay, that's one of the biggest things that I would say. You said responsibility when we were talking. Is like you're going to hold that player accountable because the result that they're focused on, you're in alignment with that result. So for example, my thought would be if Tom Brady had come on and said, look, hey coach, today I want to be the kicker, I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick may have said no. Whereas sometimes as an instructor, when a student comes to a lesson, we can say, oh, you want to work on driver? And in our heads, we think, well, if we'd like you to come back for that next $100 lesson, I better say yes. Does that make sense? You know? So we go, okay, even though we probably know that they should work on putting, but we'll go ahead and give them that lesson anyway. So today what I want to do is start to define, pardon me, a little bit more about what coaching is, and then hopefully give you lots of tools that you can go away and implement this in your business. So who's running coaching programs right now? So groups of 3 or 4 or 6 of players. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who would like to? Who has a sore shoulder and hasn't lifted their arm yet today? Just lift it up. Just try it. Like that, okay? So let me ask you this. It's not all about the money, but this is our job, so it really is all about the money. We love the game. We're growing the game. But who would be interested, even if you're a head professional, taking out 3 members each week for 9 holes and just hanging out with them and making $300 an hour? Just playing golf with your buddies. Anyone not interested in that? Anybody that isn't interested in that, either you need to leave the room or write me a check because you must be loaded. So let's look at this. So when I spoke at the PGA several years ago, we talked about how coaching's the win-win-win, okay? So to me is, for the student, okay, that player gets more time with their coach, more on course, more of the mental, more of club fitting, more of every aspect, right? Because you're the coach. You also have an improvement plan, like we talked about earlier with Bob, is getting it down on paper and understanding what we need to work on. Obviously, they also get it for lesser price because, if you're teaching in a team, it's less expensive. So it's a really great win for a parent or for a student. For the golf course, we're going to talk about job security today. If you really want to keep your job, for any GM or head pro that's here, the fact is that if you create avid golfers, if you're in the business of creating avid golfers, you're going to generate a lot of revenue for your club. And if you do that, when you ask for them to buy your TrackMan or to go ahead and put a new practice screen in, they're much more likely to do that when they're seeing the actual revenue you're bringing. Because a lot of pros will say, well, Will, you don't understand, I pay my club 20%. How much do you make a year? $100,000. Great, so you paid them $20,000. That covers the seed for the driving range and some of the sand. But it doesn't really do anything for all of us that run golf courses, right? I mean, it costs millions of dollars a year to run payroll, run the course. So how do we impact the golf course with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of revenue? That's what keeps our job. And then finally, for us, the professional, is work less and make a lot more money. And I'll give you specific examples of this. And who is everyone good with that? Raise your hands. Go on. There you go. Good stuff. So it's a win-win-win. So why is everybody not doing this? This is my question to all of you. Why is everyone not doing coaching?
To a personal level, I mainly give one-on-one. So in group atmosphere, if I'm not able to spend my undivided attention on one individual, they might feel slighted or not taken.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a good one. Did you hear that? Just may not be able to give the exact amount of information to that student in a group setting. What else?
Not convenient.
Not convenient for.
Easier to stay on the driving range.
For the pro.
My camera and my
Yep.
stall.
Yep. Okay. So not as convenient. Okay. What else?
Space, but I think that goes under convenience.
What is it?
Space is limited.
Space. Yeah. Limited space. Okay. What else?
Not everyone is actually have the mentality to coach either.
Yeah.
So sometimes people like that paycheck.
Yeah, like that paycheck or like that one-on-one time. And this isn't about can't do private instruction anymore. We all have to be coaches. No, it's just starting to understand there are a bunch of hurdles why people do not get into coaching. Because I've got coaches that have gone from making $40,000 to making $160,000 working half the time and having tons more fun, but for another person it doesn't fit. Or they're at a private club where you have to have private instruction alongside it. Or they can't take all their equipment out. So these are all valid things. So it's not about, if you're not doing coaching, you're wrong. It's just an idea as we go through today. Hopefully we can answer a lot of those questions for you so that you can start to implement it and obviously get the results. So the first thing that I see as one of the hurdles is understanding what we're providing for our customers. And we're going to basically focus on juniors today. So on that worksheet that you have in front of you, if you grab a pen, if you'd like to do this, the first thing we have to do, we have to change our perceived value. Okay, so what is your current value? So what do you charge per hour? Go ahead and write it down. So what do you charge per hour? Okay. And let me ask you this. If I said to you right now, double your rate, who would be willing to leave here today and go straight back and just say, hey, by the way, I'm doubling my rate? Okay, wow, geez, I've never heard anyone say yes to that. Okay, There's medicine in the counter back there. Because I don't think any of us can double our rate instantly, right? By just saying, I was $100 an hour, now I'm $200. Would you agree with that? Even if you did get Edgify, Blast Motion, TrackMan, put it on top of K-Vest, and then put them inside, gears, I still don't think you could do it. So the fact is that with coaching, you can do that very, very simply, okay? And so what we've got to start to understand is perceived value. So the bigger the problem that we solve and the faster we do it, the more money we make. That's the American dream. That's why I live in, especially California, okay? The market is willing to pay for how well you do those first two things, okay? So if you look at it, why would anybody, I spend 47 cents on a stamp and I send a letter to Florida tomorrow, okay? 47 cents. Would anyone pay $100 for that letter to get there? Raise your hands if you would or you wouldn't. $100? I can spend 47 cents or 100. Who would pay 100? Raise your hands. Exactly. Depends. He's got a coach right here, right? So UPS is a lot more successful than USPS. Okay. I'm not going to get into government talk there, but the fact is that what's the difference between UPS and USPS apart from one S? Speed, right? So if I had to keep my job, and my job was worth $200,000 a year, and that letter had to be in Florida tomorrow, do you think it's worth $100? Yes. Right? So one of the problems that we have in our industry is we sell our time, okay? And we do a really poor job of it, because what we say is, I'm going to give you 10 hours, but I'm $100 an hour, but if you buy 10, I'll sell it for 800. That is not a great strategy to becoming wealthy, if you ask me. What we've got to start to understand is, what is the need of our customer? If we can really start to define the need of our customer, we're going to be able to start to charge a lot more money at a lower price for them, and everybody's winning, okay? So yeah, you can be in group classes, you can be group coaching, exactly. So the idea here is that what I want you to start to write down is, what is the problem you currently solve for players? And just write them down. So some of you, it might be improved club head speed, it might be lower scores, it might be more enjoyment, it might be shout them out if you've got any. But what are those things that you're working on? Just write them down, okay? Now let me ask you, is that the need of your customer? Okay? Raise your hand if you think you match your customer's needs. And if so, just let me know what they are. So give me an example, one where you're matching it, where you're matching that customer's needs.
I had a gentleman come over just the other day and said, thank me for helping him stop shanking his chip shop.
Perfect. So I had someone with the shanks, and you fixed him. How much did you charge him?
It was $100 an hour.
Okay. So I'm guaranteeing you if someone has the shanks, they'd be willing to pay you $1,000 to fix it. Just truthfully, because it's a bigger problem. The bigger the problem, the faster you solve it. And I'm not saying that's a solution, but I'm saying this is what people are willing to do when they look at coaching. Okay? I mean, I was in my Uber driver today played for the Detroit Lions. It was random. And he went to Ole Miss. And the coach at Ole Miss made $4 million a year. He's solving a pretty major problem, right? He's trying to get them to win the bowl, whichever one it is, not the Super Bowl, but it's the Orange Bowl or something like this. So the idea is he's solving a massive problem. So it's this idea of, if we're helping this child go and get a college scholarship compared to just teaching him a golf swing, is there a different perceived value? Would you agree? Does that make sense? Okay. If we're getting this kid into golf because they can't get into any other sport because of whether it be ADD, which I have, or dyslexia, which I also have. I've got a lot of things. Or if it's they just can't communicate with other kids and they're really struggling. Do you see a parent seeing massive value in getting their child into PGA Junior League and having a team environment, a team experience, and they'd be willing to pay for that? Does that make sense? So the first thing that I want to challenge you all to do is start to look at, what is it that your perceived value is and what would you like to make per hour? Because the bigger the need you solve and the quicker you do it, the more money you're going to make. Does that make sense? So with that said, what I want to talk about here is, for us to do that, we have to slightly change our minds. Who would say they have good customer service in their teaching business? Raise your hands. Okay. Probably not going to like what I say here, but I would say that's what's holding us back from being great coaches. Because customer service can be, hey, don't worry, you didn't make it to the lesson, I won't charge you. Who's done that? Raise your hands. There's a bunch of liars in this room. No, just kidding. Okay. What about, hey, you know what? You showed up late, so don't worry. I'll go 20 minutes over because you were 20 minutes late. Who's done that? Okay. Yeah, depends on who's behind them. So I would say that the industry that we're in started hundreds of years ago back in Scotland, was all service-based, right? And we were the servant. We're the head professional. Now, if you're the head pro at a course, you have to provide customer service. Yes, Mrs. Smith. No, Mrs. Smith. Here's the shirt. What would you like? How can I help you? Okay, I don't know many winning coaches that have that mentality. You know? Oh, you showed up late to practice today. It's okay. It's okay. You're a member's son. Don't worry. See, what we've got to start to understand is that customer service is what's killing our ability to become great coaches and get our students good. I believe that you need to start looking at customer satisfaction, okay? And it's a much different, okay? Because think about this. You got your daughter's wedding in 90 days, okay? And you want to lose 20 pounds. So what do? You go and get a trainer, okay, a coach. And they stop you from drinking wine. They stop you from eating chocolate. They make you wake up like 3 times a week in the morning and scream at you. And you run till you pretty much want to throw up, and you hate it, and you pay them money for this. And then you stand there at your daughter's wedding in that suit, and you feel $1 million, and you tell everybody this is the trainer to go to. Would you agree? But the nice trainer would be like, don't worry, it was only 5 shots of vodka and a couple Bacardi and Cokes. You're okay. Don't worry you didn't come to the session this morning. Don't worry that you still ate that. Don't worry. What happens on the day of the wedding? He doesn't fit into the suit. So the idea here is that for us to really become great, we've got to be willing to start to say, you signed your child up for this game because it creates life skills and core values, like the first T talks about. Okay, honesty and integrity and confidence and courtesy. Well, some of that is turning up on time. And parents, that's you stepping back and letting your child develop. And it's having these hard conversations, which you'd much prefer to just be like, yeah, no worries, it's okay. That's what a coach does differently. They start to look at, I'm here to hold you accountable. And if you as a parent are coming here for the need of your child learning a lifelong game that's going to help them develop in school and in life, then this is where they're going to learn those lessons. Does that make sense? And that's where, not tough love, but just honesty and discipline and things like that are what make great coaches. And I think a lot of times, who would say on the sheet, who would raise a hand and say, yeah, maybe I'm giving a little bit too much customer service in my industry? Right? So this is that next step, is that I think that that can be a tough, when someone says to me, well, I want the driver lesson. Okay, my experience is this. This is when I first started coaching. Guy comes up to me, Will, I need a driving lesson. He hits a driver, you know, a crop duster, where it goes, and it just goes, and it literally goes 85 yards right and about 112 yards straight. So this and then that. Took his driver, and I just took it off of him. I put it in my car, and I said, I'll give it back to you in 3 months. He went out that day, shot 42, 41, never broken 90 before in his life. So I gave him what he needed, not what he wanted. See, what he wanted was a driver lesson. What he needed was to put the ball in play. And sometimes that can be a little bit difficult, especially if you're in a model that says, here's the $100, thank you for my lesson. When will I see you again? Well, the lesson wasn't very good, you won't see me again. Can you see how the model can hold us back? So this, for example, I added some slides in here today because I heard some of the stuff that we talked about this morning, but every parent gets this when they come to our junior program, and it goes through, dear parents, this is what we're focused on. We expect the kids, this is the parents' expectations, this is the junior expectations. I would suggest every one of you have something like this. If you want it, just drop me an email at the end and I'll send it to you. But that's what the parents are really paying for. Trust me, these parents truly want their kids to have the discipline and the honesty and the integrity and to be held accountable if you're providing them with what the parent actually wants, okay, and what that kid actually needs. Because you might think most parents are getting their kids in to learn the game of golf. I would completely disagree. They're looking for a safe, fun environment where they can play a non-contact sport that teaches them life skills and management, self-management. That's what they're really getting into. And there's a golf club involved. So what are we doing on a daily basis to make sure that's what we're providing will equal the amount of value you bring to your business? Does that make sense? So with that said, we're starting to think about this idea of handcuffs. To me, the private model is handcuffs. Because, just in my experience, is The customer tells me when they're going to show up. The customer tells me what they want to work on. The customer then tells me when they're going to come back. How possibly can I get somebody better at anything doing that? No, occasionally you get someone who's really committed and they want to practice. But we're talking about juniors, right? And trying to get them to enjoy the game. And it's mainly the parent that might be bringing them to get into this game. So how do we get into a model which is actually going to work where we have a plan of what we're going to work on, and we have a season, and we have a coach that works on different aspects of the game, kind of like every other sport that's played except golf. Would you agree? And people say, well, golf is difficult. Who'd raise your hand and say, but golf's difficult, that's why it's done privately? Nobody? So why is it done privately?
What's happened before you?
Yep, but what, yeah, so,
Doesn't make it right. I mean,
yeah.
it's kind of creature of the environment.
Creature of habit, yeah.
Before you, so that's what you know now. So
Absolutely.
Going forward, unless you change it.
Yep, okay, I like it. So it's like that mentality of, well, that's the way it's always been done. You know, whereas you look at skiing or gymnastics, and you see, has anyone ever been to a gymnastics studio, like a big 100,000 square foot one? Has anyone ever seen that? It's amazing, isn't it? Every one of you should go and see that, because if you try to understand scale, it's $300, $400, $500 a month, okay, for every kid in there, and there'll be 180, 200 kids in there, all on different mats, on different stations, working on, look, if you can't do a roly-poly, you can't do this. If you can't do this, you can't do that. And then there's a 14-year-old over there doing a backflip on a wooden pole, and you're like, that's unbelievable. So it's this progression, what we're talking about now with long-term athletic development, what we'll be seeing from the PGA with ADM and all these things that are coming out, showing us exactly how we develop at these sports scientifically, okay? So to me is, the model for me was, I want to take back control, okay? I wanted to be in a place where I could say, this is when you're going to come out, this is what we're going to work on, this is who you're going to be paired up with, these are the games we're going to play, this is how we're going to measure you, this is how we're going to benchmark you. And obviously for juniors, that's the easiest thing, because that's what education is for juniors. That's what every kid is used to. Would you agree with that? From school to every sport that they play. So it really enables you to go ahead and become their coach. And that's the fun part. You'll see in there, it talks about what is the perfect program you could put together. Because this is the fun part. It's just like if you, just imagine we were all coaches and no one did private. And you could say, look, do private, do it however you want. You could use TrackMan or FlightScope or Edgify or Blast, and you could change it however you want. Well, the same with coaching. You can have 3-to-1 or 4-to-1, 6-to-1, 8-to-1. You could do it twice a week, once a week. Does that make sense? It's like, you've got to start to decide, who's my customer, what do they need, and what would I give them to get there? Does that make sense? So the only way to do that, I believe, is getting that commitment. If you're going to hold people accountable, they have to be accountable to you. Does that make sense? Why I believe that the model of becoming a coach, and again, Butch Harmon, one of the best coaches in the world, I believe he does this for Dustin Johnson. He just doesn't do it at 3:30 in the afternoon, an hour and a half class with yellow hats on. You know? He's coaching him and holding him accountable and has the stats and has the numbers. So for some of you, it's like, I have no interest of doing groups. Okay, but still, if you went back to every one of your students and said, look, I've got this new thing called Edgify, or this new thing called Blast Motion, I'm going to track all your data, I'm going to sit down with you, I'm going to devise a plan for 2018, we're going to come up with this plan, I'm going to hold you accountable, and to be on my team, I'm going to go ahead and it's going to be $2,000 a year to be on it, plus my $120 an hour lesson fee. You'll be amazed how many people will sign up for that. I do this for a living with coaches, and it's just one after another, because they listened to their customer, defined their needs, came up with a program to fit them. Does that make sense? So as we start to look at that, this is where I think it comes into where we can all run into a bit of a problem here. So marketing one-on-one, this is something my dad taught me for many years, but people buy people first. And I think what we've got in the tendency to do is, in the industry, we want them to buy our certifications or our awards or our technology. And unfortunately, nobody gives a crap about what you've done, because they don't know you and they don't know why that would help them. Has anybody, who's taken their car into the mechanics lately? Anyone? Okay, did you ask them what type of lift they were going to lift your car up on? You didn't ask them if it was a CX2000 V50 PSI 6. No, because you don't care. Just fix my car. My car's broken. I need it back as quickly as possible. I'm willing to pay anything. You don't ask your plumber what tools he uses. Just fix the plumbing. So the idea is it's so easy to go and get this education or use this technology and think that's why our customer's coming to us. It's not. They go to you because they like you. They go to you because they believe in you. They go to you because you took the time to listen to them. Would you agree with this? How many people here would say that they know people who have tons of certifications but don't really make any money? Raise your hands. It's not about you, we're pointing about other people, okay? And who knows people have no certifications, but they're absolutely killing it. And you may even think they're not that good a golf instructor, right? But the fact is, guess what? They're better at building relationships. That's what the industry that we're really in, okay? So the better we can get at building trust, building relationships, the more people are willing to talk, for us to listen, to then create programs that they want. Does that make sense? I think a lot of us sit down and we just come up with ideas of what we think the programs could be, compared to going to our students and saying, this is the need, this is how I think I can solve it, are you interested? And every program, almost without doubt, that I've done has been put together by members or students telling me what they wanted. What if you did this? And what if you did that? I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, God, you could charge this. Really? Okay, let's do it. Next thing you know, that same parent signs up 5 of the other kids, and they're your biggest promoter. And a lot of us talk about social media. We talked about social media today. Personally, I won't say what I think personally, but I just believe that that's not how you grow your coaching programs. That's not how you grow your businesses. It's impersonal media, if you ask me. It's just totally impersonal. Nobody cares. What they want to do is have communication with you. They want to know that you listen to their son or their daughter, that you've built a program for them. That's how you build. Now, I know George Gankus and those guys, yeah, they've got thousands of followers, but I'm not there. I don't know if any of you guys are, and if you are, congratulations. But it's more about how do I get those 24 juniors that I'm teaching to their results, get them on the high school varsity team, from there get them a scholarship. That's what grows your business. Would you agree on that? And I think sometimes we spend so much time trying to post videos on YouTube and get on Twitter and do all this stuff, and it's like, I haven't found anyone yet who said it's transformed my teaching business. They were already a good coach, they were already a good listener, they were already good at answering questions and asking questions. Does that make sense? So I think that's another thing that we see is that when you put out these programs, and we're going to work on building one today, is try not to put it out there like you're selling a product, okay? The idea, which we'll bring up here, is people buy benefits, not features. Okay, and so I think what a lot of us get into is this idea of, look, this is what the software does, and this is what this does, and this is X, Y. They want to hear what you can do for their child. If they have, the ideas of the benefits being, look, your child's going to shoot this score, or they'll make this team, or I'll help them in this path to get a college scholarship. Or for adults, I'll drop 5, 10, 15 shots off of their game. In our coaching, I took the slide off today because we're doing about juniors, but I guarantee 10 shots in 10 weeks for any adult shooting over 85. And if they don't get there, I teach them for free. So they don't get their money back, I just teach them until they get to shoot 10 shots lower. Now, how hard is it to sign somebody up for that program? You go out on the golf course for 9 holes with them. At the end of 9 holes, they had 40, well, maybe not 40 for some of them, but 23 putts, 3 double hits, lost 4 golf balls. If you can't take 10 shots off of that person's game, in my opinion, I think you should find another job. Because you'll see where their problems are and how mentally tied up they are on the course. Or you get a junior who's a good player, who's a complete nutcase when they get on the golf course, but they stripe the golf ball. How's going and giving them a private lesson one-on-one helping them? When you talk to a parent about getting them in a team environment, just like a college tournament or a college golf team or a high school golf team, and putting them under pressure and competing, that is you showing this parent, you're going to solve this problem. Remember, we talked about needs, which is overcoming anxiety, overcoming frustration, overcoming anger for a lot of our high school kids. Would you raise your hand on that, right? Yeah. Crying for the girls, slamming clubs for the boys, or breaking clubs, okay? So one of the things here, I just added some slides today. This is some of the marketing material that we have. But for example, you can see here, making champions in golf and life. I believe that's what parents are buying into, okay? If you look at this, it says, now this is for our white hat levels, okay? So once you've identified that need, our number one focus is to instill the love of the game. Your child will make friends, learn life skills and core values. We are not just making your child a champion in golf, we're making them a champion in life. That's what a parent's signing up for who's getting their kid into a summer camp or white hat level, our base level, okay? So what I would suggest you start to do is look at your materials or the emails you're sending out or the email blasts or the text you're sending out and saying, am I matching the needs with what this parent, because the parent's the customer, correct, with the junior, okay? Am I actually getting the need that that parent is looking to have satisfied so I can gain the value? I added a couple more on here. We talked about this. This is our junior developmental tour. So you can see here it goes white hat, yellow hat, orange, red, blue. They have to shoot 39, and then they move back to the 150 yards, then 200s, then to junior tees. But if you look over here, a great way to do a lot of, if you're emailing people or you're posting things, is we do the what, who, why, how. Make it as simple and as easy as possible for a parent to understand, why should my child be in this program? I would suggest the best way you retain juniors is creating your own developmental junior tour, okay? Because think about golf. It's a very strange sport where you go and do coaching with somebody or you go and get lessons and then you never actually play except for maybe with grandpa once or twice in the summer. Would you agree that that's pretty much golf for juniors, right? Now, Junior League and Drive, Chip and Putt is changing this, but the idea is if you create that junior tour, there's several things that are going to happen. One is the kids are now going to play on the weekends with their buddies and their parents are going to caddy and take golf carts and buy food afterwards. The other beauty is that when the kid says, oh, I'm pretty good, and the dad says, yes, he's a rock star, he shouldn't play from the hundreds, you go, fantastic, well, he'll win the tournament. And then they go and shoot 42. You now no longer, we had a question over here, I think earlier about, how do you pair people up? It's like, well, if you're this age and you shoot 37 and he's this age and shoot 37 from those tees, it's a very different sport that those two can go head to head. Okay, so we can start to benchmark them in that way. Not saying put a 5-year-old with a 13-year-old, but at least we can start to compare what coaching plans they should be on for improvement so you don't lose those students. Provide your players what they need. For example, now up in Sacramento, it's like $70 an hour for juniors. Okay, I know it's probably a little bit more expensive in this area right here, but for example, up in our area, $495 a month that's a huge amount of money up in our area, okay? So for you guys, it might be $1,000, it might be $295, I'm not sure. But on the right-hand side, what it says over there is things like on-course play, quarterly parent meetings, video analysis, skill development, college path mentoring. I think the biggest thing that you can do if you want to retain a customer at a high level who's, think about it, if they're paying $6,000 a year for 4 years of high school, that's a $25,000 customer. Quarterly parent meetings. Every 3 months you sit down with them for 45 minutes with the child and the mum and the dad, and you talk for 45 minutes and you goal plan and you set out what the next 3 months is going to look like, what their tournaments are going to look like. We lost a lot of students when they got to this level of, well, they're good now, so they should go and do private instruction. And I'm like, no, they're good now, so they should spend more time on the golf course. They should spend more time in competition. By sitting down and having those parent meetings, I would say that is the biggest thing where you're going to hear parents' needs or concerns. And just like we use Edgify, Edgify is great because they can go ahead and post their information, but nothing takes away sitting down with a parent and really having those hard conversations or those positive conversations or, hey, I know you said you want a Division I scholarship, and we've shown you the layout of what it takes to get that, and you're not doing it. I think we really need to reassess because your parents are spending a lot of money on this, and I don't think it's matching up to what you're really putting in. Now, you might say, why would I throw away a customer who's paying me $6,000 a year? Because my brand is worth a lot more than $6,000. Because if I keep that customer and he doesn't get there, then everyone knows, well, I don't know if the program really works. And this is where, again, customer satisfaction, you've got to be willing to, with adults, I say fire. With juniors, I say suggest a different path. Hand them the number of a local swing instructor if they just want to do private. But you've got to be willing to let go of students that don't want to put the work in. And sometimes we just think of it, well, no, it's another $500 a month. It's like, no, it's your results based. If UPS only got packages there about 30% of the time, which in my experience is American Airlines, no, United more, then you don't fly them anymore. You wouldn't use them anymore. Does that make sense? So it's this idea of you're the coach, the results based on you. If you're not getting the results, then your brand isn't worth what you're stating. Does that make sense? So I just added some of these slides just to start to show you a little bit more about how it changes from someone who's coming into a summer camp, fun, enjoyment, compared to obviously a player who's looking to play college golf. So let's talk about getting started. So defining the why. We've talked quite a bit about that here over the last few minutes about why would I go and sit down with this parent and say to them, this is why I want to become a coach. For me, it's things like I want to spend more time with your student on the golf course. I want to talk to them about how to practice. I want to spend time with you, mum and dad, every 3 months, creating these plans. I want to put him around other kids of his skill level. I want to go ahead and get him to compete. So every Saturday, when he comes out on a Saturday morning, he shows up. He knows he's going to be in a game playing against other kids of his level, being pushed. I want him to know that he's got someone who can work on his mental, his physical, someone that can work on his short game specifically. And I just can't do that in a one-on-one lesson. And when you say that to a parent and you sit down with them for 15 minutes and you talk about what your vision is and why you're looking to start a coaching program, or maybe you've got a summer camp or a coaching program going, but you want that next level, that idea of they're paying $200, but I'd love to get 2 more hours a week and get it to 300 so we get on the course more. Once they hear that's why you're doing it and you're not just selling it as a product, oh, I've got a new coaching program, it's called Elite and it's $400 a month. How does that help them? They don't know how that fits their child because you haven't taken the time to ask them. You haven't taken the time to define what their needs are. And I know I keep on repeating myself, but hopefully, like Spence said, only 40% of this is going to stay with you. So hopefully, listening to people's needs, asking the right questions, and then solving their problems, the bigger problems quicker, will make you the most value. Does that make sense? So the second thing from there is obviously create the program that you believe in. Is it 2.5 hours a week? Is it 3 times a week? I mean, think about how hard it is for us as golfers. I'm from England, soccer, right? I think soccer's easier than golf. But soccer, how many days a week do you train? If you're 12 years old, how often do you train with soccer? How many days a week? Shout it out. 5. How many hours a day? 2. So 10 hours a week doing this, about like that, compared to learning the game of golf for 90 minutes a week. So design the program that you believe fits that student. For a kid who's never played before, it's a summer camp or it's a once a week. But for a kid that wants to go and play college golf, I hope it's more than once a week. But here's where you get to build in. I'm going to use Blast. I'm going to use TrackMan. I'm going to add this in. We're going to go on the course. It's going to be 3-to-1. I'm going to play with them. That's the fun about this. You know, you get to create the program that you believe best fits them. And then obviously from there, list out who you think would go into that team. Who are those students that you think would be the best fit? Tailor it to them, okay? Because you already know what days they're taking lessons with you currently, so you can combine those teams. And then from there, what I want you to do is basically actually practice your invitation. And I think that this is probably, if I could tell all of you to do one thing, I would go and maybe purchase Brian Tracy's Psychology of Selling, or go and do a selling course, because that's the industry we're in, right? Sales, okay? You got to believe that I should change your grip. You got to believe that I can get your kid a college scholarship. That's selling, okay? I've got an idea and you've got to buy into that idea. And there's a transaction going on. And to me is that just saying to someone, hey, listen, after your next lesson, if you've got 20 minutes, just want to spend 20 minutes having a chat with you and block out that 20 minutes right after a lesson. Or can you get there early and meet with me for a cup of coffee? And just practice saying, hey, look, here's my vision, here's my plan. Talk to your friends about it. Talk to your other pros in the club about it. Talk to your wife about it. Talk to your spouse about it. Because the better you get at getting comfortable that you're not selling them a product, you're listening to what their needs are and you're providing a solution to their needs, the more people will say yes. And then your programs will fill up very, very quickly. As I said here, sit down, share the vision, and then refine. What I find so often is a parent will say, well, Will, why wouldn't we do it this day? And why wouldn't you do it for 3? And I'm like, oh my God, I had never thought of that. Refine it, come, and then say, hey, is there anyone else you think would be a good fit for the team? Yeah, John. And okay. And the next thing you know, I've walked out of that program more tailored to my student, more tailored to their needs, at a higher price, and 2 more students signing up for it. Because they're coming to you, they're paying you money because they want to get better. And a lot of them might move on because someone down the road bought TrackMan or bought FlightScope or bought some other technology or did TPI, whatever it may be. They won't go down the road if you're listening to them and taking time to create the next program for their student. Does that make sense? So, and then obviously run the program, get the results, and then grow the business through testimonials. I think video testimonials are really powerful. If you were going to do anything on Facebook, social media, posting video testimonials of parents saying how much they're loving the course, how much their kid's enjoying it. I think that's more powerful, you know, and then obviously putting those out in emails to your current clients and future clients. So junior coaching programs. I just added this slide in because I thought it might help you. For example, 6-to-1 student ratio, 12 sessions for 3 months. That's the minimum commitment we do for our younger kids, and we have 6 months and 1 year. So it's 4 sessions a month. So we'll do one on-course playing lesson a month with this level, and then we'll do 3 coaching sessions per month. So it's 8 hours a month. But the reason why I want to bring this up is that in our area, $75 for an hour, okay, for a lesson. So you'd be, 4 hours, you'd be making $300. Now, obviously, if you're going to teach 6 people, that's going to take you 24 hours, correct? So if you move to a coaching model and you spent the time to sit down with them and talk to them, those 6 players in your team for 8 hours, they'd be paying $200 a month. And this is really easy, okay? Everybody look at this. You want to double your hourly income in coaching minimum. So if you make 100, you want to get to 200, okay? So if you have 4-to-1, you just have to divide the numbers to make sure it's double the amount. Does that make sense? So if 6-to-1 or 8-to-1, the price goes down, obviously the higher up you are, okay? So it's real simple. So $200 a month. So the student's getting more time. And I'll send this PowerPoint to anyone on my emails at the end. I'll send it all out to you all. So $200 monthly, okay? So you've increased your hourly rate by 100%, which is what we talked about doing, but your student's paying less and getting more time. And in doing that, you've reduced your time by 66%. Now, who could do with 66% more time? Raise your hands. Yes, especially if you're a head pro at a club, or you got a wife and kids, or husband, or whatever you've got going, everybody needs more time. And the beauty about this is that these students are having a ton of fun. Say again? Exactly. Younger, you get to do more coaching. A little bit older, you got to go home and do the dishes, okay? But that's the thing is that I've got, you've got coaches that say, I'll just open 2 more programs during that time. And then, yeah, you can go from making, I know when I did this, and this is just my experience, I made $20,000 when I was teaching privately in 2007. Yeah, 2007. I started coaching April Fool's Day of 2008. I made $75,000 or grossed $75,000 that next year in 8 months. Okay, the following year I had $151,000, and the next year I did $232,000. Now that's not bad, and I'm one per. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I can be. I'm not director of instruction. I wasn't around. It's the idea is that once you multiply things by 4 or 6, I didn't listen much in school, but it tends to lead to larger numbers. Have you experienced that before? So it's this idea of, it really is a win-win for everybody in terms of getting you into a position where, yes, you can either go and spend more time at home, more time with your students, create other programs, play more golf. And for me, my experience is Friday afternoon, I've got my mentoring, and I'll go out there with 4 of my boys, and we'll go and spend about half an hour indoors working on some of their journaling and tracking and stats and stuff like this, and then we'll go out and we'll practice for an hour and a half, and we'll go head to head on 10 in a row from 5 feet, and we're all going around a circle. If someone misses, you all have to start again. It's a blast. And then on Saturday morning, I wake up, I go and play 9 holes with my team. We hang out afterwards, have breakfast together. These are all 16, 17-year-olds all heading off to college. It's an absolute blast. As I said about, if you're a head pro, if you've got 3 guys, not every Wednesday because I travel a lot, but on Wednesday mornings, I usually take out 4 players. I go and play golf with them. And so you can charge whatever, but let's just say you charge $100 and you hop in a cart together, you go and play 9 holes, you play with them, you get paid $400, you come in, you have lunch, you hang out, and off you go. During a coaching session, I'm not doing any fixing, we're just playing a game. Last week we did, first 3 holes was a scramble, so it was me versus 2 and 2. Next 3 holes was best ball, last 3 holes was mixed. and they're just having a blast. You're creating this experience for them, and they're absolutely loving it, and they're learning at the end of it, create an improvement plan for their practice, and off they go. And I would do a lot more, and I used to do a lot more, but I now spend a lot more time doing this. But that's a ton of fun. So literally find 3 players at your club who you currently teach private and say, look, every month, let's just go and play 9 holes together. I'm going to charge you, my hourly rate's 150, I'm going to charge you 150 bucks. Get 4 of them together and go and play golf. You'll be amazed how much they love it, and then how you'll start doing it more often and realize 2 or 3 times a week, and you're putting another 1,200 bucks in your pocket playing 27 holes of golf, which some of us don't get to play much golf, agreed? So I wrote this up here for one of the gentlemen. These are some of the things I'd suggest. 45, ages 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 13 plus. No 13-year-old wants to be with anybody who's 12 or lower. Once you're a teenager, it doesn't matter what you shoot, you don't want to be with other kids. So you have to understand, as you grow programs, they kind of multiply. So you have 2 12-year-olds and 2 13-year-olds, and you get a fifth person, then split the team off into 2, and then split it off again, and split it off again. So you might have some people that are outliers that you say, hey, why don't you do private? He's 13, you're not particularly good, you're not there yet. Do this program with me, and I might be able to get you into the high school program. One of the things that I'd suggest you focus on, I'm not going to come over there because it's going to scream at me, but this is the white hat system so the hat system is, you really can't see it there, but we don't have lesson plans, we have coaching plans, and so we started the day off with like, what are the fundamentals? Do you remember we talked about that today? But my belief is, okay, the white hat, it's all about having fun, having tons of fun, lots of excitement, lots of movement. If they're going to learn anything, it's, do they know how to fix a pitch mark? Do they know how to rake a bunker? Do they know how to fix a divot? Because we're trying to get them ready to go on the golf course. Okay, and what we want to do is teach them how to welcome each other and learn how to gain confidence. So those are some fundamentals of a white hat. If I go to a red hat, you imagine karate, it goes all the way through, okay, is you can see here, kanai, constant and never-ending improvement. Let's see what else it says. Dealing with adversity. So everything that we're going to set up, the games that we're going to set up and the challenges we're going to set for them is going to be based around dealing with, they've got to shoot 34 for 9 holes. So we've really got to start to help them develop as a player, which means overcome the obstacles in golf. Does that make sense? So I always look at this, coaching, players are individuals in a team setting. So you've got to set them specific challenge points for each group and each player to get to, so they're competing against, just like in golf, a score or against another team and really making it interactive. So I think that's one of the things I would suggest is writing out a lesson plan is a good idea, but you have to have scales or benchmarks to what level player are you with, because then that really good player is sort of handicapped and challenged at a certain level compared to another level beginner who's at that same age, but they're still getting the same amount of points. Does that make sense? I think the most important thing that we've got to do is create the learning environment. I think that's sometimes missed. I think that some of us think that if we're focused on fixing their game or improving their problems, we're getting them better. My experience isn't that. Mine is that if you create the right learning environment, you don't really have to teach and they'll get better. Okay? And most students, especially adults, they don't have a technique problem, they have a tension problem. Okay? We've all heard of the second ball golfer, right? They go out there, stay on the tee box, go through their routine, slice it OB, put the second one down, rip it down the middle. If it was a technique problem, they'd both go OB. A tension problem is the second time you don't care. So what am I doing to create an environment and a space that they can learn in that adds enough pressure, because other people are watching them and they're playing against them, but reduces enough tension that they start to see results that they know they're capable of. And so I think that that's what you've really got to help them to understand, that it's a path of failure and it's a path of learning and a path of, train ugly. A lot of you might have heard that, or, fail harder, and let them get into that environment. And the kids love that. Once they know that, it's like, fail harder. Come on, how hard can we fail today? They're really willing to put everything into it. Put their names up on leaderboards. If you don't have a leaderboard, you should definitely get an A-frame with a leaderboard on it. The kids love seeing their scores and competing and seeing where they were a month ago compared to where they are now. So I think building that environment is such a huge part to it. How are we doing on time, by the way? Because I know there's traffic in LA. It's good? It's 5:30 I can go to, you said, right? 5:45? So I think creating the learning environment is really, really vital. I think that's a really big part to it. And then I'm going to sort of open this up now for questions. This was our junior program. 2009, they'd shut it down. I took it over, and we were able to get 108 kids coming out weekly. They were paying $125 a month. 30 high school kids were paying $245 a month. So a huge, huge impact, obviously, for our program at our course. To the golf course, we surveyed every parent, and we surveyed 100 parents out of just under 300, and found that the average parent was spending about $880 a year. So realistically, when we want to really make a massive impact with the golf course, the thing is that when you look at, we did a survey and it said 83% of the people said we hadn't been to this course before we got into your program. We'd heard it from a friend, we heard it at the school. So that's well over $200,000 of additional revenue to the club. That's how you're going to make a huge impact at your facility. That's how you're going to get the new TrackMan put in, or whatever, or this paid for, or extra holidays, or less commission, etc. to the course. So I think that's the beauty of this is obviously, the club grows as you grow. I've got one of my coaches, Sarah. She's in Naples, and she's had, in the past year and a half, since starting up her coaching programs, all seniors, 5 members joined the club who were doing lessons with her outside of the club and join. It's a 3-year waiting list, but it's $125,000 to get into the club. Now that's massive impact to the club, So they're on that waiting list now, waiting to get in, but they join saying, I'm joining because of Sarah's program. Now that's really impactful again. If you want TrackMan, everyone wants TrackMan. I want a TrackMan. They haven't given me one yet, but we'll keep on going, see how it does. So here are some of the results. For example, for coaches, would be my suggestion of why to go over to coaching, because your players got to get a lot better. But for example, Keith works 3 evenings a week, makes $7,600 a month, works with 21 kids right now, all going off to play college golf and elite juniors. Brian King, a PGA member, came to me, 20 years in the PGA, burnt out, working pretty much 6-7 days a week, half-hour lesson here, hour lesson here. He started up indoors in the winter, and he was doing, $5,600 a month. It's a lot more than that now with just 24 kids. So the beauty is you could literally pick 6, 8, 10, 12 juniors or 4, 6, 8 adults and run a beautiful business alongside all the other things that we have to do as professionals, And then Mike Dixon, Mike's a congressional in DC. He was working crazy hours, and he doubled his income while cutting his time down by well over 30% now. So again, that's the end result of looking after your clients, getting them a better product, getting them results, giving them what they need at a lower cost but higher value, okay, which then impacts the club, which then impacts you. And that's the beauty of this whole system. So my challenge to you is, what steps will you take today? Because a lot of you will go back to work tomorrow and be busy. So I would suggest, when I do workshops, I get people to text their students. So there's a little challenge for you. Text one of your students right now and be like, hey, I got a new program. I want to sit down and talk with you. Then now you've got to talk to them, because otherwise they're going to think you're weird, okay? And literally go and speak to them and say, look, what program could we come up with? I want you to help me create this. And when you do that, they feel part of it. My first team, I sat down with 16 of my players and I said, look, this is what I'm doing. And they all signed up for $1,000. And I didn't know what I was doing. It was 11 years ago. And I was like, all right, let's go. Then I figured out as we went. And the average player dropped 11 shots in 12 weeks. And the rest was history. It just went crazy after that, So, questions? I know I went over a lot, but I want to get to questions. Yes?
I love what you're doing. I love the program. Are you from Southern Cal here?
NorCal, Sacramento.
Okay. So we'll just throw some numbers around because there's plenty of GMs here in the
Perfect, yep.
So I'm already paying $1,000 a month rent.
Yep.
Anything I do outside of more than one person, there's a 10% charge for what I make on those people.
Yep.
I'm now charged $25 extra for balls.
Yep.
And then if we go play on the golf course, they want $45.
Deal.
So that just
For them.
took away
Yeah.
all of the
Yep.
revenue.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So what I agree. I don't like so much the yellow belt teaching the white belt. I don't know. I think there's a lot of miscommunication. But I feel if you've got to really have either a head or GM or director of golf so that you can write your own ticket.
I would.
Anybody in this room that pays rent is never going to be able to make that kind of money.
Me too. I pay rent. I do this. You know, I have my facility. So.
When you take your 3 guys out, they pay a $25.
Yeah. So you got to step back. You got to step back, and you got to understand. Today we talked about selling to juniors. Now you got to start to sell to your golf course owners and your GMs and your head professionals.
Tell us
Okay.
how to do that.
I'm going to do it right now. More value. Okay, so the fact is that they're in the industry of selling green fees. They're not in the industry of selling golf lessons because golf lessons don't make them any money. Is any GMs in here or course owners? Please raise your hand so we can have we need some proof that we might. Come on, they're too shy. Is anyone a GM? Seriously? Yeah, it's a GM. Okay, you sell green fees, not lessons, correct? So if a pro came to you and said, listen, I am going to show you how I'm going to generate revenue at your club. I'm going to run a junior tour on a Sunday evening. I want to pay for the green fees. Every single parent will have a car. Charge them whatever you want. There'll be food afterwards. I'll bring you at least once a month. If you give me one evening a month, I'll give you at least $4,000 a month. On top of that, I want to set up a junior program where I get discounted green fees, discounted range balls completely out of time. When it's the worst time of day, even if they can only fit 4 holes in, I want to get them out there. Okay, I want to sit down with you and find out when I can take adults on the golf course, back 9, 7 o'clock in the morning, when there's nobody out there, pay you a green fee. Would you be willing to talk to me? Are you at a private club?
Right now.
Yeah, you'd be willing to talk to me, yeah?
Absolutely.
But do most teaching professionals come in and say, 20%, you know, well, and they kind of say they want more? I'm a teaching pro, remember, so I'm putting myself down here, but that's what I see. I've talked at Golf Course Owners Association, you know, so what? Do you see them providing more of selling themselves and making money and then paying you a commission, or selling green fees and creating avid golfers for your club? Yeah. So the idea is, Keith Morgan, who was on that, he was in Las Vegas. He's like, well, I want to move back to LA. I want to be by my family. I said, great. Let's start looking out to golf course. Got golf courses together, put the plans together for him, went in there and sold them on the idea and said, look, and here's the proof. If I don't get there at the end of the year, whatever I owed you, if it was 10%, I'll just give you that money, whatever the difference is. But I'm going to hit these numbers. And every one of them, as long as it's out of time, you know, it's not a Saturday at 8:30 front 9, 6'em, you know, but it's back 9. We tee off literally in the summer at 6:30 in the morning. And if we slow a group down, I've never done it, but I would be hailed, you know, I would be in real trouble, okay? And we pay them green fees, and you'll be amazed how they start to realize if you put the SKU in the POS system, and they can start to see how many green fees you did, or range, but you give $1 off of a bucket of range balls to people, and it means something. They'll put that SKU in. Every quarter, you go and sit down with them. Remember, parent meeting every quarter, GM meeting every quarter. Hey, how did we do? What did we get signed up? Oh, by the way, if there's a tournament, every tournament that comes in, offer them a free clinic from me. So they can come to one of my coaching programs for free for one session, 90 minutes, valued at $150. You can give one to every single person that comes to your program. Would you like that as a way to sell tournaments? Yeah. So 144 carts go out with your 104. This is why I don't believe in social media, but right here, and it says, look, go ahead and text this number or email and come out to a free coaching session. Now you've got, and it's always Saturday at 2, and you get 10 new people every Saturday coming out. So it's really all about what's the need of the general manager. The need of the general manager is to keep his job. How does he keep his job? Make more money than you spend. So how can I really impact the bottom line? You can't do it through lessons. Because even if you did $500,000 a year in lessons and you paid him 20%, $100,000, I would imagine you make gross about $10,000 a day at your club if it's a busy course. Yeah. So 10 days, that doesn't buy you anything. If you could start to talk about $300,000, $400,000, they're now thinking, oh, those 3 or 4 rain days, oh my God, that would be cleared off my books because of this coach that's in my club. So I think you just got to really have that honest sit-down conversation. And if they say, that's great, but no, your customer loves what you have, and you say, yeah, just go in the pro shop, it's 35 instead of 45, or it's $45, and you add the price on. They're all going to go and play the course anyway, right? And they're going to go and play. So I always want to lower my expenses as much as possible so I can keep my prices where I'd like them to be. But the fact is that if they're paying that for a green fee, and like I said, I've worked with coaches all over the world, and every one of them has either had, I would say 90% of them, the GM decides, yeah, that sounds great, or you just add the cost of the green fee. All my green fees are added into my pricing. So you still double your hourly, not including green fees or range balls. And I would get off of rent, asked to go buy range balls and buy green fees. So it motivates me to sell more to make him more money. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Can I retort a little?
Yeah, retort.
As soon as you show that you're making profit, they're on you for more. So how many people here have a contract?
You're not going to get a contract in California. People aren't going to give you a contract.
So I'll just say my experience from the past is as soon as you show forward growth, they're tracking you, they're on you, and then they want another piece of the pie.
If you haven't had a conversation beforehand, absolutely, I would agree with you. Because they're thinking, okay, if I can get 6,000 off of him or 4,000 off of her. But once you sat down and really actually talked about you understand the industry, and trust me, I went to the golf course owners a few years ago and spoke, and they're like, oh, pros don't know any, they just think, they have the same opinion of us on the other side. They're like, oh, they don't have a clue.
What'd you do for me today?
Yeah, but so the thing is, if you're meeting with them every 3 months and you're listening, this is why I say go and take a sales training course, right? Listen to what their needs are. How do you solve that problem, make it a bigger problem? They'll say yes, and if not, always be looking for another club. Always be looking for another course.
You've got a shitty GM,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah, and that's,
I to a board of directors, if what we all are talking about here, I bring that to the board, I'm a PGA member, I believe in what we're talking about.
yep,
I show them results, what do you think they're gonna do, be happy?
yeah, of course. And there are some people that run golf courses that,
My pros, my assistants, doing any of this.
yeah. So again, I mean, maybe looking for another location, but I would still even put the programs out there and just put the price onto your students. None of them seem to have a problem to play with their pro. They love it.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah. What about other questions and how are we doing on time? Are we,
About 5 minutes.
okay? Other questions? I'll start making stuff up if not.
Not a question, but I kind of understand where both of you guys are coming from.
Yeah.
Because I was in the situation where I did this and I did sit down and there was, you could track how many players bought range cards and that kind of stuff and how many times they were playing. And it did come out to $200,000 a year
Yeah.
for 5 years. That's $1 million in income. So their thought process was, we don't need independent contractors anymore. You can go and we'll have our own guys do it.
Yeah, and that's just, unfortunately, that doesn't matter if you're a golf professional or if you work for any company in America or in the world. I mean, there are people that are small-minded, closed-minded, and they're gonna try and especially if they're managed by a large corporation that's all about money, then of course they're gonna try and do that to you. But again, my experience has been is that if you're building relationships with those students, a lot of my pros, this is completely random, in the last 5 years, I consult a lot of pros. And so many of them now are going to their own indoor facility, renting their own space, building it out, and then renting green fees. So just going to the club and being like, yeah, I just need 4 green fees today. And it's working really well because they've had that bad experience and they're like, hey, this is just rent. I owe rent to this person, and if I pay rent, they can't kick me out unless they have to sell, right? So I've seen that happen quite a lot. Now that tends to be in places unlike Southern California where the weather is terrible and the weather's wonderful here, so I'm not sure about going indoors, but that's what some of them have come to that solution. But
That's my exact scenario, Will.
yeah.
It's way better now that I'm by
And is that what you're doing? Yeah.
I'll pay you 100 a greens fee. Just shut
Yeah.
up and leave me alone.
Yeah. But unfortunately, that is the disconnect. And we talk about with the PGA of America, and we're trying to revolutionize golf instruction. We're trying to grow the game. But the fact is, which is now happening, the course owners, the management companies, see a PGA professional as a valued asset. We're the only people that can actually listen. Coffee and caffeine is going through the roof. Tobacco, you can put your going to die if you smoke this, and people still smoke it because it's addictive, right? We're the only addictive product that people actually are getting rid of. Okay, it's like we're doing our own 12-step program on golf because of, I think, this disconnect between confusing the life out of our students, okay? Basically making it too expensive and not a model where they can learn easily. Not guaranteeing results. If you just started guaranteeing results, that's all I'm saying. Just say, if you want to drop 10 shots guaranteed, I'll do it, I'll teach you for free. Guess what? You'd stop giving them lots of information because you know it's not going to help them. So just guarantee your results, and then there's no pressure on them. So then they sign up, and then if they come for a free session, it's in a team of 6. You were already going to be there. In their head, they're going, it's a $150 free lesson. And you're going, I was going to be here anyway. I'm still getting paid $150 by everyone else in this group. Did you get what I'm saying? And then if we, from there, started to show that we could create avid golfers doing what you're talking about, where we could show, bring a PGA professional in, start a PGA Junior League, and drive, chip, and putt, summer camps and all this, you will make an extra $200,000 a year. Yeah, you might be paying this head professional $25,000 more a year than just a regular guy that you bring in. That's where the PGA regains its status in the golf industry. So that's what we've all got to work towards. And I would say, whether you do private or you do group, focus on becoming a coach and start to guarantee your results. Because if you do that, you'll get really honest. You'll take the driver and be like, yeah, there's your driver lesson. Here's a hybrid. Now go to the first tee. Any final questions? All right, thank you very much. Much enjoyed.